Hello everybody, it's Zashin of Zashin Zone again. Got a quick video here where Heather McDonald was talking to Tucker on his show, and she makes the point that I was trying to make the other night when I made the I'm a racist video, or I'm not a racist video. I know I hid that in amongst a few other talking points I was talking about that night. But this tonight is going to be strictly this video and my opinions on it.
Well, if there's one word that sums up the Democratic case against Donald Trump, it's this: racist. They called him that from day one. They're calling him that now, again and again and again. Heather McDonald, who's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, has a very different view. She says it's the Democrats who fundamentally have racialized our politics, and she joins us now to explain. Heather McDonald, thanks a lot for coming on.
And like he said just then, I mentioned this in my video the other night. I'm going to say it now. I've been told since 1970, as far back as I can remember, that I need to be more cognizant and aware of how I treat minorities so that I'm not racially biased against them. This has been told to me in my media, in the books I read. It's just been constant. The demonizing of racists has went on for as long as I can remember. I'm 51 years old, and as long as I can remember, racism has been a bad thing. And most whites that I know won't engage in it anymore. Most people I know, if you engage them respectfully, they'll engage you respectfully, regardless of race, regardless of if they're homosexual, if they're women, if they're blacks, Hispanics, American Indians. Doesn't matter. As long as I've been respectful, they've been respectful to me. So let's let the show play.
Great to be with you.
So what do you, this is so counter to the storyline one hears everywhere, that Trump came into this placid country with perfect race relations and screwed it up by being a bigot, that I'd like you for them to explain what you mean, the Democrats racialized our politics.
It's a hilarious narrative, Tucker. The Democratic Party has been captured by academic identity politics.
Yes.
And identity politics defines whites, and particularly white males, as the oppressors of every other group, real or imagined, in the United States.
Notice, identity politics identify white males as the ultimate oppressor. And it's just not true anymore. And this lady's going to go through some of the things that will prove that. And then I'll make some other comments towards the end in my final thoughts.
It has created vast government bureaucracies dedicated to extirpating phantom white racism. The idea that white voters are going to gravitate to a party that so demonizes and scorns them is ridiculous. If you want to talk about racialized discourse, talk to any police officer who's been living through 2 years of racialized hatred, directed at them on the streets. President Obama has invited Black Lives Matter activists to the White House. He put Brittany Packnett, one of the Black Lives Matter leaders, on his task force for 20.
And let's not forget, Black Lives Matter said in their chants, and this is still in their chants when you catch it on tape, what do we want? We want dead cops. When do we want them? We want them now. And then, of course, there was the one, pigs in a blanket. Black Lives Matter has no respect for the police of our country. And yes, there are some problems in the police. And yes, that needed addressed. But it's not strictly a racial problem. More whites die at the hands of the police than blacks each year. The best answer would be nobody dies at the hands of the police. But in some instances, there are going to be people that try to use lethal force to not go to jail, and the police will respond with lethal force. This is just the reality. But there are times when police respond with that force when they shouldn't have. And that is a problem. I'm not going to say there is not a problem with police abusing their power at times. But I'm sick and tired of this narrative that blacks are the only ones that have this problem.
21st century policing. If you want to see a classic example of democratic racialized discourse, look up her post-election essay in Vox, which complains about being assaulted by American white supremacy.
I think the title of that essay is, quote, "White People, What is Your Plan for the Trump Presidency?" Now, the word racist was thrown around so much that there is a...
My plan for the Trump presidency is that all Americans do better. There's a saying, says rising tide raises all boats. And I want to see America get better for everyone. I want to see less people without a job. I want to see more people with jobs that can help them excel and do better for their loved ones.
Debate about what it means. But I think one definition that everyone can agree on is this. If the government were to punish people on the basis of an immutable characteristic such as their skin color, and really punish them in hiring, in contracting, in admissions, that would be racist, right? I mean, by definition, wouldn't it?
Right, and I think where you're going is...
And that's why we have laws explicitly stopping people from being biased against on their skin color, sexual orientation, or religion. So, or gender.
that we now have reverse racism.
No, it doesn't sound reverse. It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, is that
well,
the definition?
Sure. I mean, but there is very little evidence of classic racism any longer, which is why clever civil rights attorneys have come up with this concept called disparate impact discrimination, which forgoes finding any actual evidence of discrimination. It just says if you have a race-neutral policy that somehow is viewed as having a disparate impact on blacks, you're guilty of racism. What we really have...
So if you have a policy that treats everybody equal, you're still a racist. That's what the lady just there explained. If you have a policy where everybody is treated equal, you're still a racist. Let's let her explain that out right now in her words.
Have in most institutions today is reverse racism. You have every selective college in the United States practicing reverse discrimination and allowing black and Hispanic students to be admitted with academic qualifications that would automatically disqualify a white or Asian student.
It all seems like a dead...
Okay, now I look at that a little bit different. What's happened is to increase their student count, in some cases, there are minority students that are allowed in that do not meet requirements at all. But in most cases, what you've seen is the colleges, to get more students, have lowered the bar across the board. Even white students that wouldn't have got in the 70s or the 80s can get in college now if they have the money or can get funding from the government. And they've lowered the bar so that more of these students can get in, and we have a higher dropout rate from college now than we did back then because these students shouldn't have been there.
And to me, identity politics, it seems like it winds up in a place where people really hate each other for reasons that nobody can change.
People long to be truly post-racial, and that's why they voted for Obama, because he promised that and then revoked that promise.
I think a lot of people, not...
Notice, she just explained why a lot of white people voted for Obama. They were hoping not to be called racist anymore just because they're white. They wanted to finally put this whole because you're white, you're a racist idea in the history book. And that's not happened.
Not just white people. I think everybody longs for that, and I hope we get it. Heather McDonald, it's great to see you. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Tucker.
Sorry, I forgot to flip the scene over to get the race discussion in there. But let's go to my final thoughts. All right, everybody. This is the video I brought up. And there's another discussion going on today where Kellyanne, the lady who ran Trump's policy, was at a meeting in Harvard where the Democrat campaign people and the Trump Republican campaign people were sitting down to discuss. It was supposed to be a discussion about facts and ideas they used to run their campaigns. But it got a little heated, and the lady that was in a discussion with Kellyanne took it to the place of that Trump had ran, or Trump's campaign people had ran a racist campaign by allowing white nationals to have a platform. And that was in reference to the alt-right. Now, the alt-right 2 or 3 years ago was more of a racist platform. Many people who started identifying as alt-right over the last year or two didn't realize that alt-right previously was a racist situation. They just thought it meant not being part of mainstream or establishment Republican conservatism. Because the mainstream establishment Republican conservatism to us means open borders, global economics, and going hand in hand with the Democrats on those two subjects for different reasons. They both like these subjects, but they both have different reasons for wanting it. I'm not going to get into that discussion right now, but that felt like the establishment had just basically abandoned the moderate, normal person. I would love it if our congressmen and senators really could sit down and take a middle-of-the-road passage where they discuss situations, find a middle, and come up with answers. Not everything has to be one way or the other, period. Even though that's really how politics has phrased itself up since Reagan, and gotta say, even when Clinton was in, we were having across the aisle solutions. Since Bill Clinton was in office, after 9/11, we had another 2 or 3 months there where things were done across the aisle. But after that, Washington's pretty much been gridlocked when they try to tackle an issue. Now, gotten a little off subject there. Racism is wrong. The alt-right at this time, though I think its ranks are shrinking again because of people being identified as racist, they don't want to be called alt-right because they don't want to be called racist. They're not racist. Most people are not racist. We're tired of being called racist. I'm spinning and I'm starting to talk in circles, and I'm not going to talk you in circles. Y'all have a good night. Love your neighbor. No matter who they are, love your neighbor. Take care of your neighbors. Take care of your co-workers at work. And have a good life. I wish everyone the best of life. And hopefully things get better under Trump so that rising waters can raise all boats. Have a good night. Like, favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff. Donation button down in the box below.